The movie starts by providing historical context stating that in the late 1800s, there was a conference held to split up the African Congo Basin. During this event, King Leopold I of Belgium took control of the region's valuable minerals, leading to large earnings for his nation. However, after 5 years, the resources began to run dry, huge debts. For the state to fix this issue, Leopold sent Captain Leon Rom to secure precious gems of Opar. We then see Leon leading a group of armed men into the Congo area. After a long walk, they come across a large rock formation that resembles a human face. Just then, they hear some sound coming from the fog, causing them to take their position. When a spear is thrown towards them, Lon's men open fire, killing dozens of African warriors. As they walk forward into the fog, they discover a large number of people surrounding them from above the rocks. Following this, all the men are killed by the warriors, leaving only Leon. At last, the tribe leader, Chief Mabanga, shows up and proposes a deal to Leon: gems in trade for a particular person, George of the Jungle H. Tarzan. The scene then cuts to England, where the Prime Minister speaks to a guy named John Clayton, II Earl of Greystoke. He is called by King Leopold to head a mission to Bulma, Congo, as he's believed to be a real Tarzan man. However, John politely rejects the invitation and walks away. An American envoy named George Washington Williams follows him outside and tries to persuade him to think otherwise. He says that Leopold is failing on his loans, and a visit from Greystoke would secure Britain's effect in the Congo. Furthermore, George shares his suspicions that Leopold is torturing people and finally persuades John to go to the Congo in order to learn the truth. Following this, we see a memory of decades earlier when Joan's parents suffered at shipwreck but got trapped in the African bush. Joan's father kept himself and his pregnant wife hidden in a treehouse. Sadly, she died after giving birth to John. This creation story just doesn't slap as hard without Phil Collins. A few days later, Joan's father was also attacked and killed by a band of gorillas. The little Joan was then taken by the Mangani, a race of apes. When he grew up, John left Africa for Greystoke Farm in Britain with his American wife Jane, and now he has embraced a new life as a wealthy lord. Back in the present, Johann goes to his wife, who is in the middle of running a class with a group of children. Later, he privately tells her about the expedition trip, which fills her with excitement. John initially tries to forbid her from following him as it is not safe. However, he eventually relents when she says she's seen those abs. She knows he's a monkey man. The very next day, John, Jane, and George set off on their journey to the Congo. Along the way, they come across a group of lions, and John speaks with them affectionately. Jane then tells George that John has known these lions since they were cubs. After a while, they arrive at Bulma, where they are warmly greeted by the Kuba village, the same place where J.N. and Jane spent their youth. It turns out that Jane's father used to teach English here. The villagers look to be delighted by their arrival. Jane also reunites with her childhood friend Wasimo. Later that night, they gather around a bonfire, and Jane shares John's past with George. She recounts how John adapted to life in the forest and became strong. According to Jane, John's ape mother, Kala, loved him as her own, whereas his ape brother Akka treated him with love and respect. She also shares how odd their first meeting in the forest was. Legend has it he threw poo at her. Elsewhere, Leon and his men find out John's whereabouts and take a boat towards their spot. They attack the Kuba village in the middle of the night, hold the chief at gunpoint, and tell him to kneel. However, the latter refuses, saying that the boss never kneels down. As a result, Leon brutally shoots him to death. John fights some of Lion's men, but he is finally captured by the overwhelming number of guards. After being tied up, he is taken to their boat along with some more locals, including Jane and Wasimo. Before reaching the ship, George intervenes by starting fire towards the enemies. He somehow gets to rescue John, but Lone and his men sail away with Jane and the captive locals. In the morning, Joan is ashamed of the damage caused by those who are actually targeting him, thinking that the bad guys are en route to Bulma's mountain. John, along with several villages, devises a shortcut path that will get them there before Lion's ship. Our hero then chooses to become his Tarzan persona once more. Here comes the loincloth. After this, the group takes no time and makes their way towards the bush. During this, George tries to keep pace with the new gang. Upon arriving at a cliff, George asks Joan about how he's going to catch the moving train, to which Joan answers gravity. Amazing one-liner for a monkey. Then he and his friends jump off the cliff. George hesitates, but he has no other choice but to follow suit. Meanwhile, on the steamship, Jane tells Leon that they are in the Congo by royal offer. Much to her surprise, Leon says that he was the one who organized the invitation so that he can capture Tarzan and send him to Mabanga. Later on, Jane is freed from her bonds and is taken to Lion's quarters for dinner. On the way she goes by was Imo, who is caged above the water. A guard threatens to drown him. She tries anything stupid during this meal. Leon shares his dream to become a governor-general by saving his king from bankruptcy. Back in the forest, John carries George on his back, and the team swings from vines. At high speed, they land onto the moving train, which is moving Belgian soldiers and enslaved Congolese. This only fires John with rage, and as a result, he takes down the soldiers. Just then, the soldiers' leader walks in, but John kicks him off the train in seconds. A short while later, an engineer is brought to them who swears that he is only building a bridge for Lion's army. Confused, John asks for more information. In response, the engineer tells him about Lion's plan to take over the Congo, sanctioned by Leopold. According to him, Leon is making forts across the area linked by railway and river journey. They are expecting an army of 20,000 soldiers, who will all be coming soon. With Leopold bankrupt, Leon needs the gems of Opar to pay for the army. The next day, John and George plan their next moves. Upon gathering the critical proof to expose Leopold, John and George leave the proof with the Kuba warriors, asking him to deliver it to Bulma. The two of them then set off on foot, continuing their trip through MG area. On their way, George wonders if Joan can actually talk to the animals. Shortly after he gets a chance to see it happen, a bunch of ostriches pass by them, and one of them is supposedly telling George to stay clear. Scar's guards, just looking at the green screen, saying, "I'm talking to what?" After some time, they arrive at Mangani region, where they are confronted by a group of guerrillas. John then explains how things will work. He says that Awara, who was once his brother, now views him as a deserter. He asks George not to meddle under any circumstances. Following this, a fierce battle occurs between John and Ots, with Ots swiftly defeating him within minutes. When he approaches George, John tells him to kneel down as George complies. A cut, and the other guerrillas leave, letting them live. But now John sustains a painful bite on his back, so George has to use ants for stitching up the wound. The duo then decides to rest in the same area for a while sitting by the fire. George confides in John about his past, revealing that he was once a soldier himself. He admits to having participated in a lot of stuff that he's not proud of, and deep down, he fears he might be no different than those Belgians. They make good chocolate, though, so it's okay. The following morning, on the steamship, Jane shouts something to Wasimo in his original language. This infuriates the guards, causing them to drop the cage into the water. Fortunately, Jane jumps into the water as well, breaks Wasimo out. They swim to the shore and escape into the jungle. Jane instructs Wasimo to rouse the other warriors, as she knows that Lion's men will pursue her. A short time later, she enters the Mongani area, where she meets a group of guerrillas. She quickly kneels and bows in submission. After Leon comes with his men, Leon carefully approaches Jane and asks her to come with her. She agrees on the condition that they won't hurt the apes. But as they slowly walk backwards, Leon's men open fire, killing several monkeys. John can hear the bangs, and Jane's yelling from afar. As a result, he immediately swings all the way they're coming, just in time to save his ape brother from a Belgian bullet. Amid the battle, Leon and his inner group manage to run, still taking Jane as their hostage. They make their way to Mbanga's tribe. On the other hand, George is walking around the forest trying to find John. The scene then changes to a flashback that shows why Mbanga is so driven to capture Tarzan. Years ago, Manga's son accidentally killed John's foster mother, Kayla, while hunting in the Mongani land. In retaliation, John brutally killed Mbanga's son as John held at dying Kayla in his arms. Mbanga people brought his son's body back. In the present, John follows Leon and his men into Manga's land, where he is received by the entire tribe. He tries to sort things out with Mbanga, but the latter isn't ready to hear anything. A one-on-one confrontation that follows between John and Mbanga. Soon after, John gets the upper hand, holding Mbanga at knife point, causing the entire tribe to encircle him. However, Joan is not alone, as Akat shows up with several monkeys behind him. Moments later, George also arrives and enlightens Mbanga about Lion's sinister plan. He argues that Lion is their real enemy, and not JN, as Leon plans to wipe out Manga's entire tribe in order to take the land. This revelation convinces Mbanga, who then takes a step back. On the other hand, Leon transfers Jane and the diamonds to Bulma, where the mercenary army approaches the beach. John and George also reach the scene and understand that they cannot beat the overwhelming number of soldiers head-on. As a result, JN comes up with an idea. He sends a rush of beasts through the town, overrunning Leon's men and demolishing the valley completely. Amidst this commotion, Cuba warriors also come by train and free their captive neighbors. Sensing the approaching danger, Leon orders the gems be shipped into the steamship. He also has to drag Jane along with him, but it's already too late. So he ends up leaving her. Meanwhile, Joan runs with the stampede, jumps atop a buffalo and swings through them. Harbor attacking some armed men, Scars guards still in front of the green screen, saying, "I'm doing what." He soon saves Jane before pursuing Lion. Lion is already on his boat, preparing to give the diamonds to his corrupt financier, Mr. Frong, with the soldiers. In the meantime, George comes across an old machine gun, which he uses to destroy the steamship, causing it to start sinking. Just then, John climbs up the sinking vessel to face Leon. In their intense fight, Leon chokes John with his prayer beads, sure that's what they are, and ties him to the ship. Despite this, John fights back by trapping Leon between his knees and applying pressure until the beads snap from his neck. He then makes a sound of a men call to call crocodiles and leaves Leon to their mercy. John leaves the ship just before it explodes. He then returns back to his wife and kisses her as the locals all cheer. Damn. George returns to London and gives an open letter to the Prime Minister revealing the incident. Please leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.